Hi, do you want to know what is the one limiting belief that kills regulatory innovation or fintech innovation? If yes, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Dickson and I'm the author of this book, Leadership for Future of Work, 9 Ways to Build Career Edge Over Robots with Human Creativity. And today I want to talk to you about one specific limiting belief, right, that kills the creativity required in regulatory reporting, regulatory innovation, as well as in this regulatory compliance space. Now, you may be wondering, hey Dickson, why do we need to care about this limiting belief? Because if you don't remove this limiting belief, no matter how hard you try in your regulatory reporting, regulatory compliance, regulatory innovation, right, you won't be able to achieve success, right, if you can't get rid of this one limiting belief. So what exactly is this one limiting belief? Coming up to you shortly. Okay, so exactly what is this one limiting belief, right? This one limiting belief is we hear is I don't need to be creative, right? I don't need to be creative as a regulatory professional. Right? I don't need to be creative as regulatory professional. Wrong. This is wrong. And in fact, right, I'm going to tell you why this is a limiting belief that kills your creativity and innovation effort, and what are the two ways that you can overcome, right, this limiting belief, right? So why this limiting belief, I don't need to be creative as a regulatory professional, is wrong. Now, most of you in the regulatory space, right, you are hardworking, right, you comply to certain standards, you allow no room for mistakes, right? That is great, right? That's the essence of this industry, right? So when it comes to creativity, I don't want you to be creative, right, in terms of the data integrity, right? So in terms of the data integrity, in terms of the compliance process, in terms of the number integrity, I don't want you to be creative, right? That's true. But if you say that, hey, I don't need to be creative as a regulatory professionals, this is wrong, because even you are in the regulatory environment, right, you need to be creative, right? And in fact, right, there are two areas that you need to be more creative, right? So let me share with you, right, what are the two areas that you should be more creative. Number one is you should be more creative in terms of coming up with new process, right, to simplify the workflow, right? You should be more creative in terms of coming up with new process to simplify the workflow. So for example, right, maybe in the past it takes you 10 steps, right, to do certain regulatory reporting, do certain compliance reporting, and so on and so forth. But right now, you should be creative, you should challenge the assumption, you should challenge the norm and say, hey, is there a way that we can simplify the process? Are there certain steps that we can outsource to technology, right? Maybe outsource to fintechs or red tech and so on and so forth. Right? So that is the one area that you need to be creative, right? To be creative in terms of coming up with new process. Number two, right? What is the number two area that you can be creative, right? You can be creative to come up with new process in terms of communicating with your stakeholder, right? You can be more creative in terms of communicating with your stakeholder, right? So as a regulatory professionals, right, understand that you need to update, right, the different stakeholder. You need to communicate a number, figure, data, trends to your stakeholder. So are there some new methods or some new technology or some new channels that you can use so that you can keep them updated and informed about what's going on? Can you leverage on some new data visualization tools, right, to communicate with them about the numbers and figures, right? Can you do your communication job in a more engaging manner using some new technology, right? So that's another area that you can think about. Okay, so to recap, right, what is the one limiting belief and what are the two things you can do to overcome this limiting belief? Right? The limiting belief is I don't need to be creative as a regulatory professional. That's wrong. And in fact, right, you can be more creative in two areas at least. One is to come up with new process, right, to simplify the workflow, to improve the workflow. And number two is to come up with new process to communicate with your stakeholders better. Right? So these are the two areas that you should be focusing on. Once again, this is Dickson Tang from Singapore, signing off here. I hope you can eliminate this limiting belief, right? In fact, you are creative and you can be creative in terms of driving regulatory innovation. Cheers.